Hi there. You may have been following some of my recent videos, and if you have, you'll know that I've been basically looking at the chakra system in in our bodies on its various different levels. But I really was inspired today to make this video because of an experience that I had this morning in meditation. So I have a daily meditation routine where I'll sit down for roughly an hour and just get on my own in my own room in my own quiet time. And in my journey of progression through the chakra system in myself, because I'm not just teaching this stuff to you guys, I'm applying it to my own life as well. And it's all the more poignant and relevant to me at the point at which I'm teaching it to you. So this week in particular, I've been focusing on the third eye, the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra. And I spoke about how this is related to our intuition, to our visionary nature, to our imagination, and to our psychic abilities, to our clairvoyant activities that go on in our lives if we are beginning to become awakened. And for the majority of human beings on the planet, they don't really have any concept of that sort of enlightenment process and wanting to understand what life, what the divine, what our true selves are all about, really. But for those of you, and I imagine that if you are listening to this video and watching this video now, that you are interested in spiritual things, that you are on, like myself, on a spiritual journey, a journey of discovery. And it is a fantastic and a very exciting journey. But back to today. So I'm sitting there in my meditation and I go through various stages of meditation. So the first thing that I will do is I'll get myself comfortable, make sure my spine is nice and straight. I've done my preliminaries, I'm in my space, I've got my little ritual that I go through, lit some incense, lit a candle, etc. I'll start by sitting and shut my eyes and I will say a prayer. I'll say a prayer in a particular sequence, not a religious sense. I'm not connected to any religion, I'm not connected to any group of religious people, but I would consider myself to be a person who is wanting to be awakened, wanting to be enlightened on a path of spiritual truth. And I see a lot of truth in a lot of different traditions. There's a lot of truth in religions. There's a lot of nonsense in religions as well, and a lot of man-made stuff, but there's also a lot of truth, and it's part of my journey is to kind of sift through that, but I digress. So I sit there, I say my prayers, and I really am praying today for everybody that I'm raising this prayer up to the divine, to the universe to, that they will really kind of not be limited and not be deceived by kind of just what's around them, that they'll realise there is more to everything. And then after this point, I will go through like a body scan. So I will just follow the path through my body up from my toes all the way up, and I'm also being aware of the chakra system in that as well. So after kind of coming up through the feet and the legs to the root chakra, I will visualize that the light of that chakra and it's spinning and activating the kundalini energy, which I will then be sort of my my purpose will be to encourage that to travel upwards through the sushumna, the central channel, which kind of roughly follows the spine, up through the chakras, and then eventually that will be kind of meeting energy that's coming down as well through from the crown, and these energies will converge at different places, especially at the heart, but also with looking here at the moment at the third eye. That's the next sort of part of that process. The next part after that is that I then sit for a time and I will use my mala and I will chant, and I have been chanting the particular seed mantras for the different chakras. And for the third eye chakra, it is the seed mantra Om. And so I'm chanting this, and at the same time as chanting this, I'm also conscious of that energy as it's raising up through the sushumna and coming to the point of the third eye. And as we spoke about the symbol Om as well, we talked about the fact that it represents the different states of consciousness. So we've got the fully kind of normal functioning awake state of the day, then we've got the dream sleep state, then we've got the dreamless sleep state, and then beyond that, and beyond this veil of Maya, which is kind of the illusion of the so-called reality that we see around us, we have Turiya, which is that state of almost kind of nothingness, void, but it's that stage beyond there where there's complete bliss, there's complete union with the divine, etc. So basically, I'm going through the chant, the Om chant, and after the final syllable, the sound, we breathe out, we've breathed out, our lungs are nice and empty, and there's a stillness, there's a calm, there's a pause at the end of it, and that pause is represented by the little dot over the Om symbol, the Turiya. And as going through this chant, I'm coming through that to that place at the end of my chant, and I really am focused at this point, and my mind is completely calm, it's completely empty. I don't have any thoughts in there at all at that point. It's only momentary, understand, because we are bombarded with these thoughts all the time. I don't want you to think that I've reached this state where, my mind is completely free of any thoughts. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there's just a momentary time. And of course, time doesn't really exist when we get into these kind of higher states of consciousness anyway. But there's this pause, this momentary pause, where it's just completely blank. And I'm starting to feel those blissful feelings coming almost through at that point. This isn't the final stage. After chanting for so long, I don't know, maybe about sort of 30, 40 chants, something like that, of Om, I then go to a silent meditation, and I, as much as possible, I sit there with the complete stillness as much as I can, stillness of body, keeping the spine straight, stillness of mind, because though thoughts are coming and they're going through my mind, they're entering and exiting, and my purpose in sitting there is not to focus on any of those thoughts, not to attach myself to any of them, but just to allow them to pass through and transit through and exit the other side almost. So I'm aware of thoughts, but they're going through. So this is the state that I'm aiming for, that I'm attempting to reach. So I'm sat there, and as I am breathing, I'm focusing on the breath. I'm allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm. And almost straight away, as my focus of attention is to this area of the Ajna chakra, I'm focusing on this, and I'm starting to almost immediately see that deep indigo colour. And I want to describe this to you because I think it's good. I'm not saying this happens to me every time, and I'm certainly not expecting you to just go away and meditate and focus on the third eye, and you necessarily expect to see anything, hear anything, feel anything in particular, because this is going to be different for different people. But some of these things, having shared experiences with other people, some of these things do seem to be quite common. And so I'm sitting there, I'm focusing, I'm starting to see this deep indigo colour. Best describe it as a sort of like a purpley, dark blue sort of colour. There's almost sort of darkness surrounding, and then there's a sort of a centre of this sort of indigo colour as well coming in. And then around it I start to see kind of almost like a corona, should we say? You know, when you get those eclipses of the sun, and you sort of see the corona of the light around there, where the sun is eclipsed by the moon, or the earth's shadow, and you just sort of see a corona of light around like that. So I'm seeing this indigo in the middle, and I'm starting to see I wouldn't say it's a bright light at this point, but I'm starting to see a lighter image around, and it's almost starting to frame and almost look like that oval shape of an eye shape, and it's like as if that's the window that I'm looking through. And I'll admit it's kind of dark on the other side, but I'm seeing this colour, I'm seeing this, and what I want to get across to you is I feel this overwhelming wave of energy that's coming up, and it's coming right up, and it's coming right into my head, and it's waves that are almost like passing through and over my head, over my face, all the way across. And I'm seeing kind of almost like changes, almost like movement, almost through, as if you sort of like pass through a tunnel a little bit, and you sort of see, you know, that shape sort of going across like this a little bit. And I'll point out, this isn't like a dramatic, it's not like as if I'm looking at a kaleidoscope, you know, one of those kids' kaleidoscopes where you look through and you turn it, you know, and you got all the colours. Yeah, that would be great to kind of see that at this point, but it's subtle. I want to emphasise the fact that this is subtle, but I'm aware of this sort of shape, and I'm aware more than what I'm seeing. I'm aware of a sensation, a wave of energy, and it's not just energy. It's literally, it's like a deep, blissful feeling. I'm trying to use words, but words are very hard to describe this. It's almost like it's a combination of excitement, love, peace, like serenity, and like a blissful feeling. If you can imagine all of those kind of feelings, emotions combined. And this is happening as I'm breathing, as I'm focusing on the breath. And of course, every now and again, an image will pop into my mind, which will be a thought. And I'll perhaps be making a connection from something that I'm not exactly... You see, I'm focused on this, but when I say focused, I'm not mentally focused, as in I'm concentrating with my intellect, but I am following an awareness. If you can understand the difference between looking at something and trying to understand what you're seeing, trying to label it, like the trees behind me. You know, I know they're trees, I'm labelling them, they're trees, this is green, this is darker colour, you know, I've got the shapes and whatever, and I'm analysing what I'm seeing. What I'm trying not to do at this point, I'm trying not to analyse what I'm seeing, I'm trying to simply observe it. Like it's something that I've never ever seen before and I don't know what it is. If you can imagine making a discovery of some object, of some place, some item that you've never ever seen before, and the first thing that the mind tries to do is it tries to make a comparison. It's like this, it's like that, therefore it must be related to this, therefore it must operate in a similar way to this. That's absolutely what I'm trying not to do at this point. I'm trying to observe this phenomena, this experience that I'm having on the inside of me, without labeling it, without a point of reference. You know, it's something that I've heard about, it's something that I think might be this or I think it might be that. I'm just literally just trying to see what I'm seeing. Now I realise that in describing something, I'm going to be putting images into your mind, and of course this is what the third eye does. It gives us our imagination, it gives us our images, it gives us visual pictures which become very real to us. So just to make it clear, we have to go beyond the point of trying to see something that has been described to us and trying to visualize it. It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line. So partly I almost don't want to describe this to you because I don't want to put images in your mind that you are then going to try to recreate. What I want you to do when you meditate, if you get to this point, and it's not something that you will start to meditate for the first time, or even after a few attempts, whatever will necessarily experience this. I've been meditating for some time and I'm very disciplined about it. I do it at the same time every day, and I do follow a particular pattern because that's my dedication to this. This is my surrender of myself over to my practice and over to something that's higher than myself. But I'm excited because now I've reached this point, I'm actually really excited to go into my meditation sessions every day because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm just giving you an example of this because I wanted to get across to you today my kind of excitement, my enjoyment of this. You know, I saw a couple of images there, a couple of things came into my mind which completely out of the blue, and again, images can be something that arrive. So I saw a couple of things. I'm not going to say what they are because I don't want to put images any more than I have to into your mind, but I saw a couple of things which I had no thought, I had no perspective of why those images would be there. They're not related to anything that I was thinking about or seen before, but just a couple of random things came there. So I could realistically expect those to be sort of clairvoyant sort of images of a type, and I have had experiences of sort of, you know, clairvoyant visions and things like that which have been proven to be accurate later on. That's a talk for another time. I don't want to go into that, but I'll just say that this was an experience that it lasted momentary, it was fleeting, it was coming and going. I was getting into that deep state where I'd be having the waves of energy, I'd be seeing the colour, I'd be seeing the corona, and then maybe it would go back into a darker, sort of deeper darkness. But I was in a state at which, and if I understand the sort of the physiological, psychological terms behind it, it's a kind of a state of like an alpha brainwave state that we get into, and there is a higher state that we can go to, and that's the gamma state of brainwaves. But I believe this is kind of that alpha state almost that we're in here. So it was really, it was quite profoundly deep, and I was moved in an emotional way, and I had these feelings of bliss. And I can say that when my alarm went off, it was I was really like regret. I really, it wasn't a case of I'd sat there for an hour and thinking, oh, is it nearly time to get up and stop now? Have I done enough kind of idea? It was literally like, have I really got to get up? Have I really got to, go about and do my daily things that I've got to do, but yeah, and at that point as well, the thoughts came into my mind as well. When people have spoken about near-death experiences, and they'll go to into this things people describe, going towards this bright light, and maybe seeing wonderful things, and maybe meeting family members, etc., or maybe meeting their guru or their god or whatever. And then there's a drawing back to come back into the body, to come back into this reality that we're inhabiting now. And there is a sense they really don't want to come back to this. I can say that with today's experience, and it doesn't very often happen, because we have attachments to this world, and we've got loved ones and everything else, but it was almost like as if everything was so far away from me. I was at a place almost, and I was a place on the inside where I just wanted to stay in this experience. So so I say all of this just to be an encouragement to you to just persevere with your meditation every day. Make it a daily practice, and you can't just expect to just have a quick fix with this thing. Even with chakra work, you've got to take time, you've got to go through, you've got to do the work on yourself, you've got to work through any emotions, feelings, memories and stuff that comes through you. You've got to release that. It's all a process, but you can't actually say at what point you might have an experience like this, because you could have an experience like this at any time. It's not kind of time determined. And I'm not saying, look at me, I've come all this distance with my meditation and you're a long way behind. I'm not saying that, because you could sit down tomorrow and this could happen to you. I'm not better than you, I'm not more advanced than you. You and I are one. We are the same. We're part of the same consciousness. So please persevere with this. It's life-changing, and it's taking us to a higher level of consciousness that eventually we can inhabit on a permanent basis. No, I'm not talking about the next life. I'm talking about this life now that we live in. It is possible to live at this higher level, and for your life to just flow through. Okay, I'm not saying you won't have any problems. I can't say you won't have any challenges in your life, but what I'm saying is they won't be a problem so much. They won't be the challenge that they are, to the extent, because you will be living your best life. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video. Namaskaram.